3, 2, we are live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of East Hampton. I want to thank Jen Folks, our vice chair, for filling in for me while I was on a short hiatus. I thank her very much for that. I'm very happy to be back, but as you can see, I'm not in the room. As a consequence of that, we're going to put the facilitation of tonight's meeting back into Jen's hands, starting with our public hearing. So, Jen, it's over to you.
Thanks, Ed. I'm very happy to have you back. We are also missing Ava Warren, who unfortunately experienced a flat tire on her way here. So she will not be making it. So we're down to 5. We're going to start with the Franzetti public hearing. And Chris, if you wouldn't mind taking it away.
Sure.
Thanks.
Just going to share my screen here.
Do you read this first?
Oh, do I have to, Brittany? I'm sorry. Point of order. Do I need to read this whole thing in?
You can read it.
Yeah, I'm never sure. Sorry. Thank you, Michael. Take notice that a public hearing will be held before the East Hampton Town Planning Board at Town Hall, 159 Pantico Road, East Hampton, on Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m., or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider the application of Franzetti minor subdivision approval pursuant to Chapter 220, subdivision of land of the East Hampton Town Code, to divide a 53,702.5 square foot parcel, 1.23 acres, into 2 separate lots. Lot 1 will consist of 28,263.29 square feet, 0.65 acres, and Lot 2 consisting of 24,296.77 square feet, 0.56 acre. The parcel is located on the west side of Talkhouse Lane, Montauk, and is split between an A2 residence zoning district and a B residence zoning district, as shown on the official zoning map of the town of East Hampton, and are identified on the Suffolk County tax map as parcels 300-13-2-18.1. Subject application is classified as an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, Part 617 of the New York Code of Rules and Regulations, and Chapter 128, Environmental Quality Review of the Town Code. A survey prepared by James F. Walsh, LS, dated revised April 23, 2025, is available for inspection at the Planning Board offices, 300 Pantico Place, Suite 103, East Hampton, New York. The public hearing will be held live and in person by the Planning Board and will be available electronically by video and teleconferencing, and will be televised on local TV, Channel 22, and available for live stream on the LTV website, www.ltveh.org. The public shall be permitted to appear in person, but may also provide comments on the matter being heard by calling 351-888-6331. Any person or party wishing to be heard with respect to the foregoing may do so in person or by agent or by attorney or by call-in to the live stream or by written comment addressed to the Planning Board, 300 Pantico Place, Suite 103, East Hampton, New York, 11937. Comments may also be submitted to the Planning Board by email to planningboard@ehamptonny.gov. All comments must be received by the Planning Board by the date and time of the public hearing, dated July 9th, 2025. Ed Krug, Chairman. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. So yeah, it's a very simple project. You can just see here we are on the east side of Lake Montauk on Talkhouse Lane. And this here shows where the zoning district divides the property. So lot 1 to the north did require a lot area variance given that it's in the A zoning district and is only 28,263 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required. The zoning board already granted that variance. Regarding the State Environmental Quality Review Act, during the board's last review, a negative declaration was issued. The application was considered complete, and to date, we have not received any public comment on the application. So it's pretty simple, splitting one lot into 2. There's no access easement involved. They're both wide enough to have their own private access. So the access for lot 1 will be determined after the lot is created when they go to seek a building permit. So it's really it. There's not much to this
Thanks,
one.
Chris. Does anybody here wish to be heard on this matter?
Jen, I just want to confirm for the record that we do have proper notice and affidavit service.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen. Go ahead.
Good evening, Richard Whalen, Fowler PLLC. I'm only here for one purpose. Just want to make sure that you have your lot area right. As just noted, there's no longer an access easement over lot 2, which is the lot that has a house right now, because the applicant, Nora Franzetti, is removing the solar panels. So the correct lot area for lot 2, which is not what's stated in the public hearing notice, is 25,439 square feet. So you just make sure you note that at the time of your resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard on this? Jason, do we have any callers?
We have no callers on the line, and if it's okay, I'd like to just double check this and show publicly.
Hi, this is Jason from LTV. Wanted to make sure that everyone can see that the public line is up and operating and that we have no other callers.
Thank you. So I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Next, we move on to the Breezes Padel Courts site plan. Will, this is yours for the planning department. This is Ava Warren's on our side, and is the applicant here? If you wouldn't mind having a seat, we'll call you up as soon as we're finished. Thank you so much. Nikki.
Take it away, Will.
Do you not have the room?
I know. Go ahead, Will, whenever you're ready.
Sure. So this is an application seeking approval to construct 3 new padel courts, an Airstream camper to be used as storage, a storage container to be used as a snack bar, a sauna, a shade pavilion with decks, 2 sheds, an outdoor shower, plunge pools, an ADA ramp, and turf in lieu of existing lawn. The subject property is located within the Special Groundwater Protection Area, Suffolk County Pine Barrens, and is the only property within the town's Recreation Overlay District. All right. This project was previously reviewed by the board at its June 4th meeting earlier this year, where the board made comments regarding some remaining issues. First, the board requested the applicant submit details for the proposed outdoor shower, plunge pools, and ADA ramp. The applicant submitted these details, and following review by the planning department and fire marshal, the structures were found to be compliant with the ramp appropriately designed for ADA compliance. Second, the board requested the applicant submit details regarding the proposed lighting. The applicant provided those details, including the color temperature of the lights at 3,000 degrees Kelvin, which is compliant with town code and dark sky regulations. In conclusion, the planning department recommends this application is complete and ready for a public hearing.
Thanks, Will. Does the applicant wish to be heard? Thank you. So we're going to have just a little discussion about it. Thank you very much, Will. This is Ava's application, and I think it's pretty much in order. I did have a question about the plunge pools and whether there's any need for fencing around it. Does that constitute a pool? I don't know if the applicant maybe has the answer to it as per Suffolk County. I know swimming pools need to be.
4 feet.
I think this is above grade.
It's above grade,
I think so.
and so there's no necessary, okay.
Plunge pool has come.
You got to come up.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind coming up and stating your name.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Rohan Kamdar and I'm representing Breezes Paddle for this application. In regards to the plunge pools, they have covers on it, so from our understanding, does not require fencing.
Excellent, thank you.
Of course.
Anybody else have any
Nope.
say?
No.
Nope. Ed, I almost forgot about you. So we'll move to our single question. Does the board agree this application is complete and ready for a public hearing? Yes.
Yes.
Say yes. Excellent. Thank you. The next one is Este Restaurant. This is also Will and also Ava.
Group project.
Whenever you're ready, Will. Is the applicant here? Sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so this is an application seeking approval for a proposed new two-story restaurant, shed, decks, and parking on a site located on the southwestern corner of Montauk Highway and South Emery Street in Montauk. Currently, the site consists of two separate properties, which are proposed to be merged as part of this application, and when combined, the new property will be 22,138 square feet in size. Currently, 666 Montauk Highway is improved with a cottage and deck, while 3 South Emery Street is improved with sheds, a bocce court, wood fencing, a pool patio, and a concrete swimming pool. These existing structures on 3 South Emery Street are accessory to the adjacent Sands Hotel, which is located directly to the south of the subject properties. This application was previously seen at the July 23rd board meeting, where the board agreed to request lead agency status for the project. Lead agency letters were routed to the Department of Transportation and Suffolk County Department of Health Services as involved agencies, and both sent responses indicating they had no objections to the planning board assuming lead agency status. The planning department has prepared environmental assessment forms, parts 2 and 3 for the board's review, and recommends the board issue a negative declaration for this project. Additional review by the fire marshal was received on August 6, 2025, which indicated the newest plans were ADA compliant. In conclusion, the planning department recommends the board issue a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA and that the application is complete and ready for a public hearing.
Thanks, Will. Mr. Whalen, do you wish to be heard on this one? Okay. I agree. I think this, we've seen this a few times. I don't think there's anything that needs to be additionally addressed. I think the applicant addressed all of the different issues along the way. Anybody else?
Nope.
Nope.
2 questions on this one. Does the board agree this application is complete and ready for a public hearing?
Yes.
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 Does the board wish to issue a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA?
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing.
Good.
All right, rolling along. Springs Brewery. I see the applicants are here. Before we get to this one, I do want to say that I have had ex parte communication with the applicants, not about the application itself, just in general. They are members of a farmer's market that I manage in Springs on Saturdays.
Can I make a note about the issue with the building inspector determination?
Absolutely.
Before Chris starts. So we just received a determination from the building inspector at about 4:26 today. So obviously we haven't had time to review that thoroughly. Our comments from the planning department tonight are going to be limited to matters not directly determined by that use determination. We will review the determination, put the matter back in front of the board as soon as we possibly can. To give a full analysis and consider the implications of that determination. So I just wanted to update the board on that because the memo was prepared without us having that determination that we've been waiting on. But we did just receive it, although only a few hours before this meeting.
Thanks, Eric.
So can I ask a
Yeah.
question? So the building inspector's old determinations are in our document. Do we discuss those, or are we just looking at the nuts and bolts of this project?
I think the most productive thing for the board this evening, and the way that we phrased the memo was, as you say, to look at the nuts and bolts of it, the issues that Chris is going to outline regarding with the vials, design of parking spaces. We haven't had a chance to review the determination, go over all of, the possible implications of it. The main thing really for this application that finally, establishing what the use definitions are, the main aspect that affects is the parking. So what we would like to do is have time to review that, write that up thoroughly for your consideration, and then bring it back in front of you. I think it's a little counterproductive for the board to get into the particulars of the determination, given that we haven't had time to review it. And also, I would give the caveat to the board that, when there is ambiguity in the code, it's the building inspector that is empowered by the code to make a determination as to what the appropriate use definitions are. So it's not something that is within the purview or the authority of the planning board to determine, once it has been given to them for a determination. It's their call on it. So, I think at this point, probably the best thing to do is to focus on the elements that are addressed in the memo, and then we'll follow up with more detailed comments on parking, sanitary flow, generated sanitary flow, I should say, and other aspects of the project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Does anyone else have any clarification questions on the discussion points? Okay. Take it away, Chris.
Thank you, Jen. As Eric mentioned, we just received the updated interpretation, so I won't go into any of those implications, and we'll just focus on the submitted plans and the other issues for discussion here. So this is the second review. It was last reviewed at the January 22nd meeting of this year. And just to show where the parcel is, it's a 1/4 acre. It's just north of the Springs Historic District. Also nearby is the Accabonac Harbor Critical Environmental District, as well as the Harbor Protection Overlay District. Although it's not within any of those areas, it's just noteworthy that they are nearby. The zoning is the neighborhood business zone. And I'm just going to pull up the plans so we can go over the application itself. So the site plan application was submitted to remodel an existing 1-story building from an auto body repair shop to a brewery. And the applicant proposed 2 uses: wholesale, retail beverage distribution, and retail store. But again, we're not going to go into that, and we'll just focus on the plans. So the existing building is slab on grade with aluminum siding, has 2 garage doors, and the subject parcel has 5 parking spaces. The remodeled building would include a brewery, retail area, 3 bathrooms, an employee office, pantry, and separate areas for dry and cold storage. Facade changes are proposed to remove and seal off one of the garage doors, paint the metal siding, add windows around the building, and then paving improvements are also proposed, including the permeable driveway and parking area, a portion of which would be a stabilized lawn area shown on the western corner of the property, as well as a new walkway to the entrance. The proposal involves removing the existing septic system to put in a new IA wastewater system, as well as abandoning the on-site well and connecting to public water on Springs Fireplace. So going over the comments from the last review, the board advised the applicant to submit additional information required by the town codes, necessary submission elements for a site plan. And the applicant provided a detailed list showing where each one was indicated in the plans. And I'm just going to go over the ones that are still missing or need some clarification from the applicant. So the first is there's a equipment pad shown on the southern facade of the building, and just the area of this pad is not shown consistently between the engineer and architectural plans, so that should be revised. The lot area still needs to be confirmed with a certified survey. The applicant stated that the area was taken from a surveyor. However, we still want to see a survey just to confirm the dimensions of the lot. The inaccurate setbacks on the northern side property line still need to be removed. So you can see here is the accurate number, 19.57. However, as we've mentioned, there's just 2 lines here, one showing 9 feet, one showing 8 feet. Those should just be removed to clean up the plan and make it clear. Regarding the driveway width, it is shown as 18.41 feet, and it appears to run from the property line to the edge of this building. However, they are proposing bollards on the side of the building, which would further reduce this width. So just a revision to take into account that will be necessary. As goes for the drive aisle on the north side towards the rear of the property line, it's indicated as 24.23 feet. However, this would also be reduced by the bollards that are planned on that side of the building. And also we note that the setback here is indicated as 41.81 feet. That's from the edge of the building to the edge of the property line. So therefore it would be impossible for there to be an 18-foot long parking space and a 24-foot parking drive aisle. So you can see the dimensions here. You have 24.23, 18, and that exceeds the numbers shown at this portion of the property. So that should just be revised to provide some clear and accurate measurements to confirm the width of this drive aisle and determine whether a variance would be needed to provide 90-degree angle parking. The applicant should confirm that the length of these parking spaces were taken from the property line. It appears that is the case, but we'd just like them to confirm. We'd also like the applicant to confirm that no signage is proposed, just for the new business that's proposed on the site. Regarding the landscaping plan, they just need a quick change to indicate unique symbology for the trees. They have 3 different species, all with the same symbol. So they could either just label each one accordingly and go from there. We're also still waiting on architectural plans that are accurately to scale for the digital copies so that we can evaluate them accordingly. The second comment was to indicate the area of the brewery and retail portions consistently. The areas are now indicated on both plans, however, they are slightly inconsistent, just given that the architectural plans were using a gross floor area of 2,717 square feet, whereas the engineer plans were using the gross floor area of 2,680 square feet. So it's only 37 square feet, and that lower number does come from the certificate of occupancy from 1994. However, the applicant pointed out when they were going to do their sanitary plans, the county's definition for GFA is measuring it from the outside in, which aligns with our town code. So we see it as if when they had that higher number, the 2,717, that appears to be accurate, so they can just use that number and make it consistent across the plans so that we have a consistent GFA. Point 3 was regarding the use, but as Eric mentioned, we have that new determination, so we're not going to go over the former building inspector determination, and we'll leave that discussion for another time. Regarding coverage on the property, the engineer's report detailed that the proposed coverage is 7,475 square feet. The maximum permitted is 7,657 square feet. And we're asking for a breakdown of the areas that are proposed to be considered in this calculation. And that's given that the planning department estimates that the proposed coverage is actually approximately 8,984 square feet when you consider the area of each proposed structure, and that includes the stabilized lawn area. Again, so we just want them to confirm which structures they included in that calculations and make sure we're getting an accurate number to determine whether a variance is needed for the total lot coverage. Regarding the sanitary system, we can't really go into that much without knowing the proposed use. What I can say is that the population density equivalent, the maximum density load this property could have is 150 gallons per day. That's based on 600 gallons per acre and it being a quarter acre large. The plans they submitted were accurate for if they were to get the wholesale retail beverage distribution and retail uses divided the way that it was proposed. However, given the use is not certain right now, we can't really evaluate the sanitary plans until we have a more clear picture on that. And really quickly regarding noise, they have some equipment proposed outside that generates noise, and we're still waiting on specification sheets just showing the decibels to make sure everything would comply with the town code noise standards. The engineer released 2 reports which are attached to this memoranda, and the applicant can review the items in there to address each one accordingly. Regarding the Office of Fire Prevention, they've reviewed it, and there are no further issues to discuss from the fire marshal. However, the fire marshal will be consulted if necessary to determine the occupancy of the proposed building, if that's needed to facilitate the parking calculations or other things regarding the sanitary flow, which is ultimately regulated by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. So additional approvals will be the architectural review board for everything except the parking lot and driveway. The zoning board is to be determined for the number of parking spaces, depending on the use, the drive aisle width, depending on dimensions, and the lot coverage, as I discussed. Suffolk County Department of Health Services will be needed for the IA wastewater system. And in conclusion, the application is incomplete pending the revisions of the items mentioned. The board should review the submission items required by 255-650 of the town code to determine whether items will be waived. And the planning department recommends that the list of items be required in the revised submission, and the applicant should provide those details accordingly. In particular, the revisions needed for the dimensions of the driveway and drive aisle should show accurate figures. If necessary, the parking spaces should be reconfigured to provide a compliant drive aisle width, the lot coverage as we mentioned, and the applicant should also consult or apply to the Suffolk County Department of Health Services to determine which use that agency will use when factoring out this sanitary system to figure out what the associated density load needs to be. Further recommendations regarding parking and applicable standards will be provided when the building department, or when we've had the chance to fully review the building department's new interpretation for the proposal. So just based on that, we'll be, that's sort of everything from us on this one.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Does the applicant wish to be heard?
Hi, Gunnar Burke.
Lindsay Reichart.
We're gonna reintroduce ourselves because it's been so long.
So Gunnar and I founded the brewery in 2020 after several years of home brewing. And in addition to brewers, Gunnar and I also work in architecture. Gunnar works on residential and hospitality projects, and I work on cultural and community projects for Weissman Freddie, which is a world-renowned architecture firm in the city. Our project actually began as not as like just a brewery, but also as an architecture project, reimagining my dad's auto body shop. My family has lived in Springs for many years, founding and leading the Springs Fire Department and the Springs Food Pantry. My dad and my mom, who are here today, fresh from the auto body shop, attended Springs and East Hampton high schools, and they built and opened the shop 35 years ago, and my dad continues to do the auto body work himself to this day. When my dad began to consider retirement, he initially planned to sell the building or lease the building to another auto body shop, securing a future for my parents. At this time, my dad needs to have kind of career-ending shoulder surgery, and so we first met with the planning board 4 years ago when we initially came up with this idea. And since then, our brewery and small business has become a cornerstone of the Springs Farmers Market as well as the local community. We are devoted to using our community business to support other local community organizations like the Springs Food Pantry, Quail Hill, Amber Waves, and also by fostering a culture of sustainability and collaboration in everything that we do. We believe strongly in the good that comes from community-minded year-round businesses in our community, and as our business evolves, the need for a production space of our own is paramount to our growth and success as a business. Gunnar and I are not figureheads for large investors, nor do we plan to sell our business to a large multinational corporation ever. The team is just the two of us, and it will be for the foreseeable future. It is my hope that we can continue to have a locally owned small corner of Springs, and that our brewery could contribute to bringing the Springs Hamlet plan into fruition.
Thanks, Lindsay.
And I'm gonna respond to the notes in the agenda. So just kind of going down the list, the mechanical pad, so we will revise those drawings to coordinate between the architectural and the engineering. Regarding a license survey, we have the survey, the background that was used for the TF engineering plan, and we are happy to provide that to the planning department. We were under the impression that just the site plan produced by the engineering firm would be sufficient, but we can absolutely provide the existing survey. There's a note about inaccurate setbacks on the driveway, the 8 and 9 feet. So those are actually contour lines. They're not dimensions. So those are elevations. It is slightly confusing, absolutely. So we will make that clear in the revised drawing from TF Engineering. There were notes about the bollards reducing the driveway width. So we can absolutely remove those bollards from the plan. And there's the note about the rear driveway aisle, which is slightly confusing. If you can kind of see it slightly askew. The building is not exactly parallel to the property line. So we do believe we have the 24 feet clear to the parking spaces, and we will not be seeking a variance. So we will provide a diagram illustrating that. Signage, we are under the impression that that will be reviewed in the ARB review. So we are not going to comment on proposed signage right now. There's a comment about the digital submission scale comment. I'm unclear which drawing is not to scale, so I will need clarification on that. I checked that, so I think it should be good, but I'm happy to revise any drawings. The retail use clarification, I think we should talk about this. I think it's paramount to what we're talking about here, because so the determination that came in this afternoon is that any serving of alcohol on site would necessitate a bar or tavern use. And that, we would just like to say before this board, that is not what we want. We do not want a bar at all. We're not, the retail business is not mainly serving on-site consumption, which is the definition of a bar or tavern. I'll quote, bar or tavern, a business use or establishment which is primarily engaged in the sale and service of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption, subject to the regulatory authority of the New York State Liquor Authority. So I think it's what's not getting across to the building inspector is that the primary business of this retail is to-go sales, and we are proposing limited on-site tastings, which is the use that we have been applying for since October. You know, this was kind of the use that the Montauk precedent in Montauk, the use that their tasting room utilized in the town is a retail use. So that is the use that we were that is appropriate, that we feel is appropriate. We do not want a bar. We don't think the neighborhood wants a bar. We don't think a future bar from a future tenant is the right answer. So I'll just leave it at that, I guess. Yeah, and then just continuing on the comments. We propose stabilized lawn parking, and this, I just want to clarify, this was not included in the coverage calculation. We do not think that this is a structure, so I think that's something we need to kind of get together with the planning board on. Regarding the sanitary system, our sanitary plan has been submitted to the Suffolk County Department of Health, and it is under review. So in conclusion, you know, we're not asking that the planning board waive any requirements of the site plan. We're happy to work through these nuts and bolts issues. We're happy to clarify and provide all requested information to achieve an approvable site plan. We are proposing an appropriate use for a neighborhood business zone and ask that the planning board continue to work with us to expeditiously review the documents that require resubmission following the clarifications made in this document and at this meeting. Our preliminary site plan application was received by this board 4 years ago, July 9th, 2021. And the 2019 Hamlet Plan, which targeted this neighborhood business zone specifically, was discussed at length at that meeting. Our project is very much in keeping with the proposed guidelines outlined in that document. And I know Eric has said that this board is at the mercy of a building inspector, but I would like to challenge that, and I think that is the incorrect use determination.
Thank you, guys. Before I turn it over to Lou, whose project this is, thank you guys so much. I know it's very frustrating to not be able to talk about the use determination. There are mechanisms for you to dispute that determination, and unfortunately, the planning board does not have the, you know, we don't have the authority, it's not in our purview to challenge that. So thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, I just want to say you're a very sympathetic applicant, but we are governed by the rules that are stipulated in the code, and we have to abide by that. So it's not my personal opinion as to whether or not I should approve this because I like you or because you're contributing to the town in a way that I would approve. So as far the big item, as you mentioned, is the use, that front part of the building, the retail or tavern use. I can't comment on that. We're bound to review the determination made by the building inspector, and that's what we have to go by. You can dispute that, and you can challenge it and appeal the decision, but that would mean going in front of the zoning board. So that's all I can say about that. I mean, it's a fascinating topic. I wish I could give you my interpretation, but I can't. The rest of the application has a lot of points that I'm sure can be ironed out and taken care of very, very rapidly. They're the category of inconsistencies, clarifications, inaccurate numbers, that kind of thing, like the pad and things like that. That can be handled very quickly, and that can be gotten out of the way very quickly. The issue that I think the other issue which is problematic for you is the coverage. Now, I know you said that you don't believe the stabilized lawn area should be included in calculating the coverage. But unfortunately, if you read the definition of the coverage, what goes into determining what is the coverage calculation, that area it's pretty clear that that area is included. So that, that would eliminate 3 parking spaces, which could become problematic. The other problem is the aisle width, the drive aisle width. Now, I know you said you'd get rid of the bollards, and you're confident that you can get 20 to 24 feet there, which if you probably can. I think even with the bollards, or maybe without, I forget, you're only about a half a foot shy. So I think that could be worked out as well. But those are the way I see it, other than the use determination. That's the coverage and the dimensions of the parking spaces and the drive aisle are the items that you need to take care of. Those are the big issues. Everything else can be taken care of. And I hope that they can be handled and negotiated in a way that's speedy and quickly, so that you can, put all of this process behind you and get your business going. Good luck.
Anybody else? I guess we'll go around. Michael, do you want to?
Can we discuss the building inspector's determination of 2012?
No.
Unfortunately,
Relevant. Right?
that's not relevant given today's.
Well, it is in the record.
It's
It's right in there. Yeah. So. Yeah, I'd look at this project as you got to cross the T's and dot the I's, and the site plan part will be taken care of. And yeah, it's all about use at this point. And what can we do? Thank you.
Reed?
Yeah, I kind of echo what Lou had mentioned. I'm sympathetic to you guys. I think it's great to see a local business helmed by a couple young people who we want to retain in our community. And I really think it's great that you're embracing that entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to grow. But again, I think that the building inspector's determination, I'm still a little unclear exactly what that determination says. I haven't seen it, haven't read it. I don't know much about it. I get the impression it was somewhat negative to what you're trying to do, but I would like to see it. Just another comment too, I think it's refreshing, and I think it's authentic and genuine to see you guys representing yourselves. I think, sometimes people, bring up the consultants and the lawyers, and I just think it's great that you guys are spearheading this, and I do wish you the best of luck. I sincerely do.
Yeah, I agree with you all. I think your site plan issues are pretty minimal. I was just running some quick numbers, and your numbers are off by inches. So I think that's just something hopefully you can clear up and fix for us. Survey, obviously we will need a survey. I know TF Engineering does a great job, but we do need that survey. And good luck with the use.
Ed? Thanks for
Yes, I think my colleagues have really said most of what I want to say, starting with the fact that, I too really very much like and support the idea of young local entrepreneurs like yourself, trying to create something that's really useful to the community and could be a real asset to Springs, where I happen to live myself. And I do think that there is some potential for there to be kind of a win for everybody on this, within the parameters of what we have to deal with, right, in terms of code. And I'm looking forward to having a more fulsome conversation next time when we've evaluated the building inspector's determination.
Thanks, Ed. I agree with pretty much everything everybody has said, and I think we're all disappointed that we're not going to, that we really can't discuss the use part of it, because that's really the crux of, so many of the other things going forward. And, I too support you guys, and I think it's a wonderful proposed use, and I wish we could have a better conversation tonight. And thank you guys for your patience. Anybody else?
No.
So we're going to move on to our questions. I wish I had brought my glasses tonight. Does the planning board agree with the planning department's assessment of additional information that must be provided per town code 255-650 necessary elements?
Yes.
I think yes, we all do. Does the planning board agree that the width dimensions for the driveway and proposed drive aisles should be revised to account for proposed bollards or removal of such bollards?
Yes.
Yes.
Does the planning board agree the applicant should reconfigure the proposed parking spaces if necessary to provide compliant drive aisles? I think, if you can prove that they're compliant, there's no need for that. Does the planning board agree the proposed total lot coverage should be confirmed and that the applicant should provide a list of the areas which are included in the calculation?
Yes.
Yes. And does the planning board agree that the applicant should provide manufacturer specification sheets with sound data for the exterior equipment? Yes. So that's all pretty simple stuff. And thank you, guys. Moving to the Nicholson sub-waiver modification. Is the applicant here? Oops, careful, Dan. Lou, that's yours. Eric, that is yours.
Yep. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. Should show you a far aerial photograph showing you the area of town that this is located in. Close to Sag Harbor up in Northwest. I'm going to switch to a closer aerial. So this is an application to modify the conditions of approval of the Nicholson subwaiver approved in 1986 in order to allow the rearmost of the 3 lots in the minor subdivision to take access from 6-pole highway, as opposed to Route 114 via a common driveway that was set up to service all 3 lots. The subject parcel is Zone A5 residence and is within the Water Recharge Overlay District. It's currently vacant and has been since the adoption of the subdivision. It's 100% uncleared of naturally occurring vegetation, and the habitat type is characteristic of the South Fork Pine Barrens, with a mix of deciduous and evergreen canopy consisting mainly of pitch pine and various oaks, and an understory of lowbush blueberry and huckleberry. It's situated in areas designated for their importance to groundwater protection, including the Water Recharge Overlay District, South Fork Special Groundwater Protection Area, Suffolk County Department of Health Services Groundwater Management Zone 5, and the South Fork Pine Barrens. The neighboring parcels are all residential property, both developed and vacant. The lot to the immediate west is owned by the town and is to be the future site of the Route 114 middle income affordable housing development. The lot to the immediate south is a developed residential property. So again, this is a modification of a previously approved subwaiver. That is a type 2 action under SECRA, so no further review is required. Additionally, when the subwaiver was originally approved, it did get a review under SECRA. So in order for the board to consider a modification of a previous board approval, a legitimate change of circumstances must be found to be present. This can include new legislation, changes to site conditions, or changing to surrounding conditions such as roadways. In the case of the subject application, it appears that a clear change of circumstances is present. Specifically, aerial photographs confirm that 6-pole highway had not been improved at the time of the subwaiver approval, leaving Route 114 as the only abutting improved roadway and therefore the appropriate access point. The board should determine if it agrees with this assessment. Further to this point, the record of both the subwaiver application and a zoning board of approvals, a zoning board of appeals approval, indicate that actually the zoning board conditioned their variances on access being to Six Pole Highway, but then subsequently approved a modification because they realized that Six Pole Highway had not been improved at the time. So really, at the time the sub waiver was approved, there was no other option than to do a common driveway to Route 114. So we do see that as a legitimate change of circumstances. The application request identifies that the applicant wishes to change the address of Lot 3. And by the way, I will switch just quickly to the approved subwaiver map. But our understanding is that they want to, the application says that they're requesting to change the address of Lot 3. They are, though, also requesting to change the legally established access point for Lot 3 to be from Six Pole Highway. The applicant should confirm that that's the case, but basically the idea here would be to remove Lot 3 from the common driveway easement and being required to be part of it and have it have its own access. But our understanding is that lots 1 and 2 would remain having access from the common driveway. The applicant should clarify that. So, I mean, as previously noted, there was a requirement in the previous approval that all 3 lots take access by a common driveway. The actual common driveway easement document doesn't provide for its modification. Some of them do. They say, you know, planning board majority +1 or something like that. This doesn't have a provision for modification. However, it's our understanding that access easements can be modified provided there is consent of all of the lot owners in the subdivision, and the applicant has submitted a certified letter from the only property owner other than themselves of a lot within this subdivision. Lot 1 is owned by a separate private individual. Lots 2 and 3 are owned by the applicant, Ms. Nicholson. So the town engineer reviewed the request and has signed off on it and stated that Six Pole Highway is in good to fair shape. The fire marshal has signed off on the project. We had originally suspected that Six Pole Highway might be a town trustee road. It was at one time. However, it's my understanding, based on looking through the records, that this is part of the town highway system. And in fact, the applicant reached out to the town trustees to inquire about that. And they echoed that sentiment that it is not a trustee road. So no approval from the trustees is needed. One of the important things to consider, so again, you know, the planning board needs to determine first if there's a change of circumstances, but then also you need to determine whether or not it's prudent and good planning to modify the subdivision as requested. So one of the most important things to consider with this property is that it's sensitive to groundwater protection, as I noted previously. But if you look at this aerial photograph, you can see that actually providing an individual access to the rear lot would reduce overall clearing on the property. It's a little bit difficult to see on this aerial, but right now the common driveway is improved up the flag strip and ends at the edge of lot 2 where a individual driveway branches off. If the applicants are required, when lot 3 is developed, if they are required, as they are now under the way that the subdivision has been set up, to extend that common driveway, they would have to extend it the entire length of lot 2 and then into lot 3 to provide access to the building where it might be located. You can see clearly if they were coming in off of Six Pole Highway, that driveway would be of lesser length and therefore would result in less clearing. So we view that as a positive aspect of the modification request. One note, though, is as I had said previously, the lot to the immediate south is developed with a residence. The lot to the north is a town lot that is intended to be for affordable housing. It will most likely take access from Route 114. So in order to avoid having a driveway that could potentially be right up against this southern property line and therefore right up against that neighboring residence, we would recommend that if the board does support the modification, that they include a condition that the driveway be located in the northern portion of the lot where it abuts Six Pole Highway. A public hearing is not required to be held for a modification of a minor subdivision. We recommend that you do hold one simply because it will change access patterns in the area. You'll have a home that is now taking access off Six Pole Highway, which is a relatively quiet road, and that will affect traffic patterns and neighboring properties. However, we do note that the most affected property owner is the owner of Lot 1 of this subdivision, and they've already submitted their support for the request. So basically, in conclusion, the board should discuss all of these issues and determine if the application is complete. Really, to summarize, is there a change of circumstances present? Is the board the applicant able to modify the common driveway easement, which is something you would have to check with council. Again, we believe that they are, but you should double check that. And then really at the end of the day is, provided you are allowed to make this modification, do you support it? So if the answers to all of those questions are yes, then it appears that the application is complete and the board should determine if you're going to hold a public hearing. If the answers to any of those questions are no, then the application is incomplete at this time.
Thank you, Eric. Does the applicant wish to be heard? Thank you. If you wouldn't mind just coming up, stating your name.
Hi, I'm Helen Nicholson. I'm the property owner. And I want to say how much I appreciate the board's guidance on this. When we bought the property back in the 1980s, Six Pole Highway was basically a shell dump, and there was no way that we could have had public access to that road because it was undeveloped. But in 2009, apparently, according to the town trustees, that's when it was paved. And so the whole frontage of that back lot faces onto Six Pole Highway, which is now aligned with residential homes. Now, we have no desire or plan to develop the property. We're not planning to put up a house or do any kind of construction on it. But if we were to sell it, or if it were to be transferred to another owner, it would obviously be desirable for them not to have to clear, I think it's 1,200 feet of 20 feet wide, which is about 20,000 square feet. Whereas they could come in from Six Pole Highway and maybe have a 150-foot driveway, which would only be 300 square feet of clearance. So it would be much more practical for anyone who would build a house, which is not us, to have that access. Plus, of course, if you've ever tried to turn left on 114, as I do all the time, you know that what has happened is 114 has turned into the Long Island Expressway. So the fewer cars that are going in and out on that side, the better. And imagine plowing a 1,200-foot driveway. I mean, it just makes no sense at all. So for those practical reasons, I think that's really what we're looking for.
Thank you so much. Lou, this is your...
Yeah. It's very rare that we get an application that doesn't check off any boxes that it should. I think I've had one in my experience. It's also just as rare that an application checks off every box that it should. This is one of them. It checks off the environmental consideration box. Obviously, if you have access from from 114, you'd have to have more clearing, which is not smart. It checks off the code sections that require this kind of thing. It checks off the traffic. It checks off what's good for the environment in terms of the groundwater. I mean, I could go on and on. So
please do. I like that.
And also, when the subdivision was approved, they wanted access. They actually said that access for this lot was going to be on, what is it?
Six Pole Highway, yeah. They had clearly never seen.
Then they realized that it wasn't navigable, that highway, so they had to do. So there's nothing else to say than, as far as the public hearing, I don't see what anyone could say in a public hearing that would supersede the benefits of putting the access on Six Pole Road.
Oh, there's one other
There's also
point.
the neighbor, which is you, No, not you, the other neighbor, the one who's submitted the affidavit, they approved this plan as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't really think it's, in my opinion, and that's the only questionable item here, is whether to have a public hearing or not. I don't think one is necessary. And usually I'm for public hearings, but in this case, I don't really think it's necessary.
Now, one other thing I should mention, I talked to the assessor's office, and they say if you approve the sketch that I submitted where the driveway, any potential driveway would be on the northwest end toward the town property rather than the developed residential property, they would need to know that that was approved so that they can give a proper street address. The location of the driveway apparently determines the
Yeah, and
street
you're
address.
okay with having the location on the northwest side of the.
Oh, yeah.
property? Yeah, so, I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
I wrote down in my notes about how insane it is making a left on 114. So I agree with you completely there.
Anybody else have any comments? Ed, Reed?
I don't, I agree. I don't think a public hearing is warranted.
Oh, good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Yeah,
All what you said, and no public hearing.
I agree as well.
All right.
All right, thank you so much. Questions?
Thank you.
Does the planning board find that a legitimate change of circumstances is present? Yes. Should the applicants clarify at this time whether they propose to amend the approval to permit 2 access points for Lot 3, adding permission for an individual driveway while keeping the rights to the common driveway, or to amend the approval to completely eliminate all rights and use of common driveway for Right 3? Sorry, we didn't talk about this.
Yeah, I can better explain that request.
Yeah.
Basically, what we're asking is just, will the common driveway easement be amended to remove Lot 3 entirely from being part, having rights to that common driveway? Or did the applicant envision leaving the common driveway as it is, but having the board change the approval to approve a second access point?
My letter addressed on July 28th addresses that point and says we want to eliminate the access to 114 and have a single access point on Six Pole Highway.
Perfect. Okay.
Hey, Ark, I have a question. What happens with that flagpole portion of that lot?
Yeah, I mean, that is something that I debated, including in the analysis, because there could be I mean, basically what happens is it remains as a flag strip portion of the lot. It would not need to be developed further to extend the common driveway. So it would essentially remain in its natural state. It is part of Lot 3. So in theory, there are improvements could go in there, but I don't know what you could put in there that would meet a setback. So it will probably remain in its natural state. One thing that could be considered is doing also a lot line modification to remove that flag strip because it's now not needed. But the applicant didn't request that, so I didn't go down that avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just say that would probably require a new survey, and we were told that that really wasn't necessary because it's only 20 feet wide. So there's no setback. I mean, you can't build even a chicken coop on it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So did we answer that question?
So the applicant is going to remove the rights to the common driveway for Lot 3.
Right.
Eliminate all rights and use of the common driveway to Lot 3. Yes. Okay. Does the board agree with the planning department that an individual driveway for Lot 3 to Six Pole Highway, if approved, should be confined to the northwest corner of Lot 3, opposite the property line that abuts currently developed residential property?
Yes.
I think so, yes. Will the board require a public hearing for this modification request? I think we're all in agreement that we don't need a public hearing.
We don't.
Good.
Okay. And does the board have any objections to a proposed individual driveway for Lot 3 to Six Pole Highway related to any issues raised herein or any issues not addressed in this evaluation? No.
No objections.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Next is the Echo Acres sub-waiver. Eric, this is yours again. Is the applicant here? Hello. Great.
Okay, hopefully you can see the aerial photograph of the property. And just as a reminder, this is an application to subdivide an approximately 6.7 acre lot into two individual lots, one of approximately 54,600 square feet and one of approximately 59,000 square feet. So the last review, I believe there's an error in the memo where it says the last review date was April 23rd, 2024. I believe that was 2025. And at the time, the planning board laid out the outstanding elements. The first planning board comment was the applicant should address the prior comments, including common driveway plan, approval for driveway improvements in the right-of-way, and secret and site history. There's really sort of 4 points in there. The applicant did submit a revised common driveway plan, and the town engineer has found that acceptable. Regarding approval for improvements in the right-of-way, the town engineer noted that a work permit would be required and should be obtained from the town highway department for the apron and improvements in the town right-of-way. But this can be made a condition of approval to be met prior to the issuing on any of the lots, as per the recommendation of the town engineer. Regarding SECRA, a revised EAF Part 1 was submitted. Planning Department found it acceptable, and the necessary coordination to establish lead agency has been completed. The board had previously said they wanted to declare lead agency status. So regarding site history, that relates to actually the second planning board comment, which was the applicant stated that a phase 1 environmental site assessment and testing have been available but not submitted. The board requested that these be submitted in response to the board's May and November requests for information on site history. So the applicant submitted several documents in stages over the course of several submissions. And we noted in the memorandum the various dates and documents that we received. It's a lot of information. I'm going to go, what we did was review all that information and give analysis of certain points and certain aspects of it. I will go through that, not in its entirety, but just to give you the basics. The report states the study focused on the property history concerning past land use and development. The comments that they made in the phase 1 environmental assessment regarding the content of the study was found acceptable by the planning department and responsive to the comments of the planning board. And I will also mention that, and really the site assessment relates to the historic mining operations on the property. A timeline is presented in the document submitted that examines the active period of mining on the site. The report notes that based on aerial imagery, there is a suspected area of sand mining on the south of the site in the 1938 to 1957 imagery, during 1960 to 1985. The report notes that sand mining operation has expanded and is on the south and east side. Or excuse me, I should say during 1960 and 1989, the report notes the sand mining operation has expanded and is on the south and east side of the site, and that by 2008 to 2011, the sand mining operation was no longer visible and no longer conducted on the property. So the phase 2 site investigation included the following work program and results. 5 soil samples and 1 composite sample of the stockpile fill material was collected and analyzed to determine if the historical dumping of the fill material at the site has adversely impacted the site. The collected fill material samples were tested for VOCs, SVOCs, and metals. Laboratory data for the submitted fill material samples were compared to New York State DEC regulations on restricted use fill material. All collected samples and the composite samples of the stockpile had no detected levels of any of the items searched for in accordance with DEC regulations. As such, the fill material tested does not have levels of VOCs, SVOCs, and metals that would adversely impact the property. Review of the soil testing information indicates that the boring locations are in the vicinity of future site development. The data table indicates the level of these compounds were all well below DEC requirements. The level of constituents found are also below DEC regulations. No groundwater sampling was conducted. However, after review of these materials, the planning department recommends that the information provided is sufficient and that the conclusion of the technical reports do not indicate the site is inappropriate for residential development. The planning board should determine if it agrees. And I will also give you a reminder that at the last review, the applicants had mentioned that they designed the location of the building lots to be outside of the areas of the heaviest mining development and instead have those situated within the reserved areas. So we already addressed the EAF and have sent lead agency coordination out. So the other involved agencies under SECRA are the, Suffolk County Department of Health Services. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is an interested agency under SECRA. We sent referral to both of them. No objections to the planning board establishing lead agency were made. Accordingly, the planning department has prepared an EAF parts 2 and 3. A negative declaration pursuant to SECRA in Chapter 128 of the Town Code is recommended, and that document has been drafted for the board's review for this evening. So in conclusion, the planning department recommends that pending the SECRA determination, the application is otherwise complete. The board should make a SECRA declaration at this time and should determine if any additional information is required or if the application can also be deemed complete and ready to be scheduled for a public hearing.
Thanks, Eric. Would you like to be heard?
Hi, I'm Samantha Malone from Tarbert and Lester PLLC on behalf of the applicant. Just here in case you have any questions and to respectfully request that we schedule for public hearing.
Thank you. I think that in, taking a look at this, I think that the applicant has done everything that we have asked. And I think it is, I don't really think there's too much to discuss here.
Is the illegal dumping in the sand mine area and not on the top part?
What do you mean by illegal dumping?
Wasn't you in here? It talked about there was.
No, it's just fill.
Fill.
It was just fill.
From the mining operation.
There's nowhere in here that says illegal dumping. Then okay, then all of that was tested is in the lower the southern southwest portion of the property, right?
I believe so, but I would have to review that and get back to you.
I think so.
They did, just to be clear, they did soil testing throughout the site and in the vicinity of the building lots, which is really, where you want them to be doing the testing to, make sure that there isn't aren't any dangerous compounds in the area. And the results of their soil sampling was that they didn't find any prohibited substances in any volumes exceeding any DEC regulations. With that.
No further questions from me.
Anybody else?
No.
Ed?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. I know that the EAF part, the EAF part 2 does say that there's no or small impact to public or private water supplies or treatment utilities. But is it the intention of the developers to connect to county water here, or are there going to be wells? I didn't see any reference to water supply anywhere.
Did we talk about this at a previous meeting? And isn't there a water hookup on Bull Path? It was.
I believe originally the idea was to have a water hookup, but there is not very much public water in that area. The map, as it's shown right now, provides each lot with a private well.
Okay. All right.
Just anecdotally, that site has not been the site of dumping for much longer than 2008. There's been, or mining rather, not dumping. I don't believe it was in full use even in the 80s when I was growing up back there.
Okay. All right.
That's anecdotal. Any other comments? Okay. Does the board find the submitted information regarding the history sufficient to determine that the lot locations are appropriate for residential development? Yes. Does the board wish to make a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA and Chapter 128 of the Town Code?
Yes.
Yes. Is any additional information required, or is the application complete and ready to be scheduled for a public hearing? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next, Bayberry Estates sub-waiver. Eric, that's you. Are you here for that, Dan? Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to begin by screen sharing an aerial photograph of the property. And this is a sort of far establishing shot of the area of town. I will zoom in a little bit more so that you can see the property, which is undeveloped and undisturbed and uncleared. And then I will provide you the proposed subdivision map. So this application was last reviewed on January 22nd of this year. Again, it's an open space preliminary subdivision application to subdivide a 746,000 plus square foot parcel into 3 lots, also providing a 70% reserved area. So the proposed action is an unlisted action under SECRA and Chapter 128 of the Town Code. As requested subsequent to the last review, a revised EAF Part 1 has been submitted. The Planning Department reviewed that document and finds the revisions, the 3 specific revisions that were requested have been made. We find that document acceptable. The board should determine if it agrees. The Planning Board declared lead agency status during the application's initial review, but a complete and adequate EAF Part 1 was not available to route to the other involved agencies. Provided the board agrees, the Planning Department will initiate the process to establish lead agency at this time after this meeting. The Planning Department recommends that the board conduct a coordinated review of the application. The agencies to be included are the Suffolk County Department of Health Services and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Referral to the Suffolk County Planning Commission is also required as an interested agency. So at the last meeting, the board offered a number of comments to the applicant. The first was the applicant should revise the environmental assessment form. As I noted, they have done that. The second was that coordinated review with the involved agencies will be initiated after we receive their revised EAF Part 1. They have submitted that. We will begin that coordination. The third planning board comment was a requirement to annotate the map to recognize that the envelopes have been designed to avoid the areas of steep slopes will be made a condition of final subdivision approval. The applicants actually are ahead of you on that, and a notation has been added to the map, so we don't need to handle that as a condition of final approval. Another planning board comment was the applicant should address the additional items needed for the preliminary map, including the addition of a fire hydrant, well, or cistern, the locations of those, along with a letter of approval from the appropriate fire department or fire district. The applicants have submitted a letter from the fire marshal that essentially signs off on the project and finds that no further changes are needed for firefighting purposes. The fire marshal did previously make a note about a provision of state law that applied to the width of the driveway. Basically, they were citing a section of code that said that if you have more than 5 buildings that are served by a driveway, that it needs to be improved to a 20-foot width. The fire marshal, I spoke with them about this. They actually, since that time, reached out to New York State with specific questions about the applicability of that code section, and found that it doesn't really apply in this case. And basically stated that it is a non-issue. They raised the issue thinking it was, but have confirmation from New York State that it was a incorrect interpretation of that code. So in conclusion, the applicant has responded to all the outstanding items required by the board at the time of the last review, and as a result appears to be complete. Provided the board agrees, then secret lead agency coordination will be initiated, and once completed, an EAF's Part 2 and 3 will be prepared by the Planning Department for the Planning Board's consideration. Subsequent to the adoption of a secret determination, the application will be ready to be scheduled for a public hearing.
Thanks, Eric. Dan, would you like to say anything?
Hi, Dan Weaver from Walbridge Surveyors on behalf of the applicant. Really just here to answer questions if the board has any. I don't think there's anything I need to address at this time.
Thank you. This is another fairly simple thing, and I think we, unless anybody has any specific questions or comments about it, we can move on to questions. Ed?
Yeah, no, let's do, yeah.
All right. Does the board find the short form environmental assessment form EAF acceptable and wish to begin the process of establishing lead agency?
Yes.
Yes. Does the board find that the necessary elements related to the firefighting requirements have been met based upon the recommendation of the fire marshal? Yes. Yes. Does the planning board agree that once lead agency has been established, an EAF parts 2 and 3 should be drafted?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. That concludes our work session. We now move on to the regular meeting portion of this program. We have 3 resolutions, and a scheduled public hearing. Bruce, I'm going to give you this to read because I'm tired of hearing myself talk.
Okay.
First is Mark's 2-story infill site plan.
In the matter of the application of Mark's 2-story infill site plan, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-6-22. This is a site plan approval. I have read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next is Maram. Yep, go ahead, Michael.
In the matter of the application of Maram?
I say Maram.
Maram EV chargers, phased site plan, the installation of 4 electric vehicle charging stations and convert existing parking spaces to EV charging only. I have read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
267 Acabonic sub-waiver. Reed, you want to read?
Sure. In the matter of the application for 267 Acabonic Minor Subdivision, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-147-6-31.2, to schedule a public hearing on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. I've read the resolution and move forward with its adoption.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Kuhn sub-waiver. Lou, would you like to read that one? Going around.
Matter of the application of Kuhn Minor Subdivision, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-24-13-29. Scheduling the public hearing on September 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. I've read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that concludes that. Board of Review, there is one urban renewal road assignment. I never know what to read here. Whereas the town engineer has brought before the Board of Review the request of 3rd Street Invesco LLC, John J. Quinn, for a building permit Suffolk County tax map number 300-76-6-7. There are road improvement units assigned, 3,300 road improvement units. Estimated cost for bond or undertaking is $16,500. It includes clearing and pruning the existing vegetation on the westerly side of and within the road shoulder along 3rd Street, installing 2 leaching basins, 8 feet in diameter by 10 feet deep on 3rd Street. The leaching catch basins shall be traffic bearing, et cetera, et cetera. And I have read this resolution and move for its adoption as well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then there are the minutes. I read them. They're stapled incorrectly, but other than that, I thought they looked good. Anybody else?
Good.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion to adopt the minutes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
One final motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Thanks, everybody.
nicely done. Wow, 8 o'clock.
Congratulations,
Ooh.
Chris, on your promotion.